Hello, everyone, and welcome to Turn Digi, our first Turn Digi event for 2022. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm SEO Joe Blogs, the founder of Turn Digi, and I'm really pleased to say that we have three great speakers who will be sharing their big tips with us all about how they made a difference and a big impact in search. Just wanted to say a couple of things about Turn Digi before we start. So we've actually had 11 events, including today. We pride ourselves on always having first-time speakers. We have a diverse range of speakers, and we have people dialing in from all over the world. We've actually had 64 to date, over 50% entrepreneurs. I am a bit biased. We do have quite a few female presenters, but I really also want to hear from anybody that would like to speak at the next Turn Digi to please contact me. And we've actually been runner-up in Digital Innovator of the Year. It was Women's Digital, an event, and I'm really pleased to say that this won last year. So great to have a lot of you that have been part of Turn Digi. We've had over 6,000 views and a number of videos from the different sessions, around 23 so far. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker of today, Cheryl Luzet, and she is the CEO and founder of Wagada Digital. And I asked her to come on the show today to share what she's done at her agency and how it can inspire others, such as the audience here, and how you can actually perhaps get some inspiration to make a big difference in your industry as well. So I'm going to pass over to you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me today. So I'm Cheryl Luzet. I'm the founder of Wagada Digital. So Wagada's been going about 11 years. We've got offices in St Albans and Cheltenham now in the UK. So I've been working in digital since the very early days of the internet. So I'm kind of showing my age there, I think. But so we've got 20 staff, and we've really built up a really fantastic culture of hard work, learning and fun. And a little bit later on, I'll talk to you a little bit more about our culture and how we make it work. So I'm doing a presentation of two halves today. So it's all about how to make a big impact, as Joe says. So I'm going to share with you a tip that has made a big impact for one of our clients. And I'm also going to share a little about our culture and how it works at Wagada. So my tip is going to be about improving your ranking by ensuring that your content matches the intent of the searcher of the keyword. And then after that, I'm going to talk about my ethos when I set up Wagada 11 years ago. I've always believed that happy staff equals happy clients. And, what I'd like to talk to you about is how very much having a positive company culture can very much boost your business success. So search intent, why is it important? So when we're thinking about search intent, one of the key things is that it tells you whereabouts on the funnel your searchers are. So it allows you to really create content that absolutely meets the needs of people at the different stages of the buying cycle. So as a starting point, it allows you to do more effective keyword research by targeting those search terms that really align with your audience's needs. It means that you can make your content much more relevant to what the person is looking for. It can really answer those questions that users are asking, and it allows you to structure your page in a way that is really user-friendly to both the searcher, but also the search engines as well. And finally, it allows you to rank higher by creating content that search engines understand and know is much more valuable and relevant to users. So the whole idea of search intent has become more and more important to Google over the past few years. And I think Google has recognized that actually, if you're looking to buy a pair of shoes, then you don't want to read lots of blog articles about shoes. You know, if you're wanting to buy something, you need to be presented with the most relevant content to allow you to buy that thing. So Google has really demonstrated how much it's investing in search intent in its quality evaluator guidelines, where there's a lot of talk about search intent and why it's really important. So there are 4 main types of search intent. So we think about navigational search. That's someone who, you know, they know what they want and they're trying to find it. So it could be a certain website. It could be something physical. It could be, you know, using Google My Business to find something physical, but they know exactly what they want and they want to get there. Then there's informational searches, and these are your people that are more at the research stages. So they want to learn more about something. So these tend to be maybe some of your question words or some of your how-to articles. And then there's transactional. So these could be someone, you know, trying to buy something, but not necessarily. I mean, often we think of transactional keywords are, you know, someone buying something, but it's someone wanting to take an action. So it could be signing up for a newsletter. It could be any sort of action, but mainly it's about buying and those buying signals. And then finally, there's commercial intent. So commercial is a little bit between transactional and informational in that people want to learn a bit more about their purchase before they make it. So these people are researching about specific products and brands. So these navigational keywords, people researching for these, they know what they want. So the way to really optimize for navigational keywords is really, you know, your standard SEO optimization, you know, your site structure, titles, tags, headers, etc. You know, and the descriptions that tell people what they're going to find. So the informational keywords, these are people that want to know more. So if you want to optimize for these, the best way is to think about the content that you're writing and make sure it answers the questions that people are asking. So Google obviously knows the questions that people are asking because people are putting those questions more and more into Google. So Google loves it when content answers those questions because it very much meets the needs of searchers. Another good way of you know, providing for these informational keywords is about creating how-to articles. And the more kind of rich you can create these, the more informative they look, the more Google will like them. And it's the same sort of thing, the same sort of optimization that we normally do, titles, tags, headers, etc. Now, one great way to research your informational keywords is using the tool Answer the Public, which really allows you to dig deep into the sort of research phrases people are putting into Google. So then we've got transactional keywords. People want to buy something. Here, you know, it's very much about clear calls to action and make it easy for people to complete their purchase. Structured data can really help to help Google understand what that page is about. And then we've got the commercial keywords. So people want to find out a little bit more about a product or service. So that's about creating content that provides deeper information, or maybe it compares different products. Think about the benefits and the features of a product or a service if you want to, you know, rank well for those sorts of keywords. Now, I just wanted to share with you some of the results that we've had at Wagada when we've implemented some of these techniques. And you can see this client here has done really, really well out of, you know, the optimization work that we have done very much around these sort of keyword intents. And we haven't done an enormous amount of really, you know, new content writing here. It was very much about optimizing the content that was already on the website, but making it more relevant to the searcher intent. And you can see what fabulous result we've had there. And there's a specific keyword there, green screens, that, you know, it's got 31,000 searches, 33,000 searches a month. And, you know, doing this work has allowed them to get from position 70 to position 5. So that was really, really valuable for them. And we've got another one here, another client, and you can see very much that point where we did the optimization work and the effect that it had. So definitely worth investing a little bit of time in thinking about your keyword intent in your optimization. So now I'm going to move over to culture. So, you know, I've always had the ethos that happy staff will equal happy clients. And I've always felt that, you know, if we can create a really strong, positive culture at Wagada, that actually it will lead us to having a much more successful business overall. So there's lots of really brilliant reasons why culture is key. But actually, even just from the point of view of your clients, they love to work with companies that treat their staff well. And there's lots of implications for that. You know, if you've got happy staff, they're going to work harder, they're going to be much more dedicated. Recruitment at the moment is really, really hard. It's really hard to find the right people. And we all know that in a service industry, the people are everything. So, you know, we have to get the right people. And particularly tricky in our industry, it's not just about getting people with those soft skills to provide the good service. We also need to get these people with expertise. So it makes it doubly hard to find the right people who can work for you. So, you know, by having a really positive culture, it all feeds into your employer branding, and it allows you to really reach out to those people that you want to come and work for you. And it's also great for retention and keeping people. And we're recruiting at Waggadah at the moment. So if anyone's looking for a role, we'd love to hear from you. And it encourages staff members to really interact positively with each other, sharing ideas and expertise. And I love walking into the office and hearing the buzz of everyone just helping each other and, you know, really sharing knowledge. And it really supports everyone, I think. And having that positive culture encourages people to share ideas and work together really effectively. You know, and it really motivates staff, and they really get to show their passion, and they'll go above and beyond for a business that, you know, that looks after them. So it's really, really worthwhile. And finally, you know, as a business owner, by creating a positive culture, it's so much more rewarding for me to work in a business where, you know, I have a really motivated and happy staff than it would be, you know, if the culture wasn't as strong as it is. So one of the key things to remember about culture is that it's not about perks. It's not about the holiday allowance or the pension or, you know, the days out or the beer afternoons or any of those things. It's really about how you make your staff feel, how people feel when they work for you. So this is great. This is from the HubSpot Culture Book, and it really shows how the world of work has changed over the past few years. So whereas in the past we would work to make a living, now we're working to make a difference. We no longer want to follow, we want to lead, we want to chart the course. We don't want to be juggling work and home life. We want to create a harmony between those two things. We want to be able to connect and work from anywhere. You know, in the past we might have valued perks a bit more. Now it's very much more about the people, and, you know, we're very much valuing the colleagues and the atmosphere that is created. So here's some of my team and some of the kind of fun things that we get up to in the office. So you can see at the top that these are our values, and we like to refer to our values very much in our day-to-day working lives. So our values are human, passionate, flexible, and honest. So I think the one we use most often is about human. And it's about treating people as you would want to be treated yourself, and very much that whole people connection side of things. When we talk about passionate, we're thinking about, you know, having real passion for the brand and for our clients and for, you know, digital marketing and our expertise. Flexible is all about really being able to give people options, you know, where they can work. Flexible working, so that if you have sort of caring responsibilities, if you've got children, we can make that work. And then honest, it's a lot broader, the honest one, than just the obvious being honest with our clients. It's also about being honest with each other and, you know, providing feedback and making sure that we all know, you know, what we're doing well and what we could potentially improve on. So here's the team on the day that they won the St Albans Pancake Race. We do that every year. We are 3 times winners of the St Albans Pancake Race. But I think this kind of shows the passion that the team have. And I think we need to remember that culture is not necessarily about the environment that the leader of a business creates. It's actually more about the people that you have in that business, and you have to make sure that you have the right people in order to create the right culture. And I haven't always had the right people at Waggadah, you know, and I think, but looking at this team now, we really have a really, really strong, you know, team of people who really share the values of the business and want to work passionately together. And I think if you haven't got the right people, you can bring in as many initiatives as you'd like, but actually it's never going to work. It's got to be about the people at the end of the day. So how do you go about finding the people with the right values? And I think one thing I've learned over the past few years is really looking for people that have a growth mindset. So these are people that accept they don't know everything. They are keen to learn. They're happy to accept failure. They want to improve. They want to support others, as well as, improve themselves. They're very flexible. They're very open-minded. They're very self-aware of what they're good at and what they're not good at. And they're really keen to develop themselves. And I've just found that actually having that sort of mindset really provides a very harmonious and happy environment in the office, and one that creates the sort of culture that I want to build, of people that are, keen to learn and really passionate about what they do. So that's it. Yes. So does anybody have any questions?
Well, thank you very much, Cheryl, for sharing that with us. I did like what you said, just tweeted about it, the fact that we should be looking at a different way for staff, how that we should be not juggling work-life balance, but we should be looking at how we can manage it and have a good work-life balance. Also bring in Simon in, who's also built his agency too, and I'll bring in Rejoice to ask any questions. I did have a question just about, you said you're looking for people that have a growth mindset. How would you find if that person does have a growth mindset in the interview?
I think that's a fabulous question, Joe, and I'm not sure I've quite got to the bottom of it, but I guess the way I try and identify that is we ask them what things that they feel they can improve on, the things that they're not so good at, and the way they tackle that question. Because it's quite a different question to what is your weakness. They very much need to talk about where they need to do some learning, and if they seem like they are excited by the prospect of learning and wanting to pick up new skills, then that really makes me think that they do have that sort of growth mindset.
Great, thank you. I actually have a question from Liam saying, great insights. Do you have any tips on how to measure how happy your staff are at your company?
That's a really good question, actually. It's very difficult. So we did a Slido recently where we investigated how happy the staff were, and that was quite interesting. We tend to have monthly one-to-ones and use that as a way of identifying how happy they are. I think sometimes that's a little bit more effective than questionnaires, because they can be a little bit impersonal, questionnaires, but it's good to get different, investigate different ways of getting feedback from the staff to find out how happy they are. We also take small groups out for lunch. So the managing director takes small groups out for lunch and tries to get them to talk about what we can do to improve. And I think that works quite nicely as well. Just trying to create that open dialogue, I think, of, not only does the team need to think about where they can improve, but also, I do as well. I need to think about where we can improve the business. So just to create that dialogue really helps.
Great, thank you. And Simon, do you have any questions for Cheryl?
No, it was a fascinating talk. Thank you, Cheryl. I really enjoyed it. I know that, as agency owners, we're all sort of struggling with the labour market at the moment. Have you found that there are people who are sort of non-specialist SEOs that you've managed to bring into the business and very quickly train up, so they're in perhaps a discipline that's quite similar, and you've been able to sort of convert them into SEO? Have you had any success with that?
We've done one person, actually. We were looking for a new digital marketing account manager, and we actually took one from one of our clients. So it's not quite as bad as it sounds, but they were actually in the office downstairs from us, and the person that we worked with was leaving, and she was an account manager, and she was the person that we liaised on a day-to-day basis. And I just managed to catch her before her last day and said, I hear you got a marketing degree, because I heard she had a degree in marketing, but she ended up working for a building firm. And I was like, oh, would you be interested in transferring the account management skills that you've built up in the building company to come and work for us, you know, in the marketing agency? And it just kind of worked quite well, actually. She's very, you know, all the soft skills are all there, because she's, you know, the sort of account management she's done is very different, very much more hardcore really in the building trade than what she'd have to do for us. And she's just really keen to learn, and she's picked up those skills really, really quickly. So for us, it's been a success. But yes, it's been an interesting experience actually training her up, but she has picked things up really quickly. Have you tried that in the past, Simon?
Yeah, I think we've had really good success with digital marketing managers, for instance, and getting them into the world of SEO. So generalists, and then offering them a specialism where they can advance their career. Because I think you hit a ceiling quite quickly as a digital marketing manager. You can sort of go into marketing director, CMO, but getting into SEO then opens out a whole new world to you, and often higher earning potentials as well. But at Blue Array, we've got a very structured business. So we have sort of SEO executives supported by SEO managers, who are then supported by directors. And we're really trying to feed the business from the bottom, as it were. So, you know, SEO executives, we take them on board with the expectation that they're going to become managers within 12 to 18 months. And when we really hire on the basis that they're, you know, of the emotional intelligence, for instance, to be able to take on a role like that within 12 to 18 months. So, we've different angles, but I think you're right. It's just about being a little bit more creative than rather I'm hiring for SEO people and I can't find anybody. It's not particularly creative.
No, you're absolutely right. I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're muted, Joe. There we go.
Yeah, muted. Thank you very much, Cheryl. That's loads of tips. I'm really pleased to see that culture is very important for you at the company. I believe it's such an undervalued, or has not been placed on such a important scale in the past. And I found that you can really tell that in an organization. I'm all about making sure that we're investing in people and making sure that it's, you know, people are not just, oh, it's a day job, you know, it'll do. But I'm like, no, you're here a long time, so it's important to be happy at your company. So thank you very much. We'll have obviously this video afterwards. So if anyone's missed the show, you can watch it online. And anyone that has signed up to Turn Digi, I will send this link out so you can have it right into your inbox. So thank you very much. I'll just share my screen one more time. So thank you very much, Cheryl, for joining us today, and Simon for joining us. We also have Rejoice. Rejoice will be talking to us now. She's been very active in the digital community. Rejoice is actually a co-founder of an organization called Be Digital UK, which she will go into in this presentation. And she's currently a content strategist at Rise at 7. She was also, she can tell you more details, but she also won an award last year for diversity and inclusion. So without further ado, I will pass over to you, Rejoice.
Thank you. So my name is Rejoice Ojiaku, and as Joe said, I'm a content strategist at Rise at 7, as well as the co-founder of Be Digital UK. I've done a few talks around diversity and inclusion, from blog contributions to podcast features as well. And last year, I was the award-winning diversity and inclusion advocate. So the agenda for this talk today is mostly to introduce you to Be Digital, which will cover quite a few elements around diversity and how Be Digital has sort of made an impact within the industry, and some of our learnings that we've sort of had to take in along the way. Again, this is split into two parts, and the second part will mostly cover things around SEO, copywriting, but mostly focusing specifically on content briefs. My career has been mostly in SEO, and I've just recently slightly pivoted into content, not too far off from SEO, but mostly sit within the content team. So essentially, why am I here and what's the point of this talk? So essentially, the point of this talk is to get you to think about diversity and inclusion and how impactful it can be, especially around the concept of building communities, communities that do benefit diverse and inclusive initiatives, and how companies can sort of look into adding those initiatives into their policies. So, what is Be Digital? So, Be Digital was created, I believe, a year ago, and within that year, we are able to sort of promote Black talent and promote digital marketing to the Black demographic. We do this by creating quite quirky content around different educational pieces for people to learn about the different things within digital marketing. We found that a lot of people do not understand, well, a lot of people within the Black demographic did not know how, I guess, digital marketing falls under in terms of all the different channels, in terms of all the different places you can go. So the whole point that we're trying to do is make those channels more visible and make more Black talent visible within the industry. And we've had loads of people, you know, being part of that journey as well, kind of amplifying their voice and what they do, where they're based as well, what degree background do they come from, do they have a degree background, just so we can be quite diverse in the different career paths that people have chosen. So why Be Digital? So Be Digital is essentially, and we found that within the sector, looking at the stats, that a lot of people from the BAME community, we were made up 13%. This was sort of taken a few years ago, but again, junior roles are mostly BAME people, but we wanted to kind of look into how do we get a lot more Black people into senior roles, and how do we sort of break that glass ceiling as well, and market people to kind of see digital marketing as a pivotal and, you know, prospering career paths. From a few of the experiences that we've come across, some people didn't know that digital marketing can be quite fun, can be, you know, the ideal career path. Again, growing up within an African household, it's always engineering, lawyers, doctors, and all of those things. So we wanted to show that digital marketing is something that, you know, we see being quite fruitful, lucrative for years to come, because it is around the digital element. So that's why Be Digital was created. It is a safe space for Black employees or people wanting to enter the industry, for them to gain insights, gain courses, have free resources, and be invited to events that they can again learn from others similar. So the achievements that we have covered so far, we currently have over 200 members on the Discord channel, and the Discord channel, within that we share loads of free resources. We have people from quite experienced people from all over the channels, from SEO, PPC content, who are in several positions as well within that Discord channel, and we share insights. People are able to ask questions if they feel confused about a certain topic, and we also share any sort of events that's coming up, and people are able to share their wins and shout themselves out as well. Last year we attended the Women in Tech Festival, and we're able to take 8 Black women. Be Digital is not funded by any organization, but we do fund it mostly for ourselves, and we do accept donations from companies who gives us a bit of funding. Again, you know, Arish from Women in Tech SEO was helped us sort of do like an open call to see who can donate a few tickets to us to get these young Black women to go to these events, because this is their first time. It gave them a great place to network, and we managed to get a few cool pictures on that day as well. We're able to, you know, from Be Digital, 8 plus people were able to start their journey in digital marketing, and that's through the job postings that we do, that's through the resources, the trainings that we kind of give the community. Some people give trainings for free as well, and a few people have secured certain jobs within digital marketing, SEO, PPC content, and all those things. We're able to build brand relationships, like with Rise at 7, Impression, Evoluted, they've reached out to us to advertise entry level roles as well as take on people who want to just sort of have a bit more insights as well. So that's been really, really helpful. We've built our trust in the Black community. We are seen as quite a trusted community for people to want to learn. We do get, messages all the time asking how they can be involved in the community, and we're constantly adding people there. So that's quite important for us to be trusted by the community that we've targeted. And we've also had almost 2,000 followers on social media through our postings, and we've also been able to build a team of 5 Black women, myself and my co-founder, with support of 3 other ladies who help us with the running of day-to-day, from content, emails, and all of those things. So, and last year we were also a charity partner for Brighton SEO, which is the first picture up there. We're able to kind of, I guess, speak about who we were and get a few interests going. So one of the learnings that we have around diversity and inclusion by building this community is that we found that D&I is continuous. It's something that isn't a one-stop shop. It has to be a continuous, progressive thing that you're always thinking about, always long term. D&I is a community. It's not just one person doing the job. It has to be a community effort. So meaning that it's not just Be Digital. We wouldn't get where we are if people weren't willing to build this community with us, whether they're indirectly or directly involved in it. D&I is intentional. You have to be intentional about what you're trying to achieve, intentional about how you're trying to achieve it, intentional about the lengths you're trying to go to make sure that you're tackling any sort of issues. D&I is about feedback. We don't claim to get everything right. So when we do get feedback, we have to take it on board. We have to listen to the community members who are trusting us to help them. So whatever feedback they want in terms of whether there's easy communications, etc., we have to be able to listen to that. D&I is about accountability. So being accountable to your members, being accountable to people, to our members who are joining, whether they're experienced or not. We have to hold ourselves accountable for everything and not pass blame. And DNA has been about authentic, and we do this by sharing actual, authentic, transparent, day-to-day learnings, day-to-day lives, at what we experience, because it's a good way for people to actually be more realistic about the industry. So that's what we do. Another learning is cultural sensitivity is needed. So we have to be able to understand what cultural sensitivity is. Again, people from different walks of life will be impacted by so many different things. So it's about being culturally aware, culturally sensitive to things that we may not find as drastic, but others might do. D&I answers the what, and inclusion answers the how. So D&I is essentially, so diversity is being, as Azim would put it, diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being made to feel belonged. So that is essentially how we sort of look at it. We can invite loads of Black demographics into Be Digital, but we need to make sure that they feel that they belong there. They feel this is a place where they can be open and authentic and be themselves. And lastly, we should not feel alone. We should look into how we can support communities. We always tell agencies that it's a community effort. Look into how you can support other initiatives for them to be able to, utilize them properly. If D&I is actually a policy, if D&I is an actual objective. One thing that we always scream is tokenism is forced D&I. So bringing that one person to fill in a D&I quota can turn into tokenism, where that person may feel like the entire weight is on their shoulder to represent a demographic or represent a gender, represent a sexual orientation, and that can be quite really bad for their mental health, really bad for well-being. So we always champion that tokenism is not the way to go. You shouldn't have, one person shouldn't feel the need to answer for an entire category per se. So that's mostly around D&I and inclusion. I'm going to pivot into SEO, copywriting, and content briefs. So essentially, a content brief is a document that helps you and your writer understand what you want from them in terms of building that content. Content briefs is something that I think is quite important when you're looking at copywriting. again, is a way to plan ahead, is a way for you to look at the search data and then plan how that information is going to translate into content, what needs to go into the content briefs to make it easier for your writer. But what makes a content brief SEO focused? It makes it focus, according to Moz, that it's unique in the sense of the goal, and it's a way to instruct the writers on creating content to target a specific query, but I like to put it to target a specific intent as well as query. So, for example, it's all fun and games to target, I don't know, beaches in Cornwall, but again, you need to understand what is the intent behind that. Are people trying to be aware? Are people trying to, are they in the consideration stage? Is this a navigational piece? And again, that will help you create that brief for your writer or any internal or freelance writers that you use. One thing that you have to consider is, what if we don't use content briefs? What happens when we don't actually use them? Well, if you're not using content briefs, you will find that you're having to do a lot of back and forth with the writers, because they might not understand the direction you want to go into. Again, a lot of back and forth in terms of SEO wise. Maybe they have not utilized any of the keywords that you wanted to target, and that leads to an incorrect approach to SEO. It means that you're not going down you're not doing SEO best practices. The title can end up being too long, the description can end up being too long or too short, and so on. It's not answering any search queries again, and there's loads of rooms for misunderstanding in terms of, again, the intent. You might want someone to write a piece around awareness, but they've now written a piece about decision. So again, the kind of language being used has moved from making people aware of the brands to almost salesy. So that is why a brief is very, very much important. But what can we include in the brief? Well, in the brief, I would always like to include what the title tag is. So if you're in the SEO team or the content team and you're writing this brief for anybody who is actually going to be that writer, include the title tag. Actually write the meta title, write the meta description, because once the writer sees that, they will understand where they need to go. Suggest a word count. So you can include a word count so they know how long this piece needs to be. Is it a 1,000 word count? Is it 15,000? Again, let the search data help you inform that. Look at what the competitors are doing, how much their word count is as well. Include competitor examples. So it is okay to add, this is what the competitors have done, and give that example so that the writers, whoever is writing it, will know what the vision looks like. What are you actually trying to make it look like in terms of how long it should be, in terms of H1s, H2s, and all of these things. In the brief, add any internal links or external links, preferably internal links, because we want to drive traffic around your page. Add any internal link that the writers should be linking back to. So if you're writing a piece that is addressing a specific area within your page, you might include the category page as an internal link. You might include other blogs that are related searches or related queries as an internal link. Add those in. It's great for your writers to know that these are the links that you would like to kind of link within the blog. You can go further by including an anchor text with that, or you can leave it for the writers to do that. But write a comment saying that they're free to think of the anchor text their way. Include keywords and search intent. Now, this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They don't include the keywords they want to use. I wouldn't say include 10 keywords. I would say pick at least the top 3 keywords that you want to target with this content. Include those in the brief. What are the top 3 keywords that the writers can utilize across the body of the page? And remember that keywords does not have to be exactly how it is. So Google, again, is great with reading context. So you don't have to write beaches in Cornwall. That doesn't have to be the keyword you use, but it can sort of be in that conversation. But as long as you're utilizing those keywords, and I would also say add keywords in your H1s, add keywords in the headings as well. Those are really good SEO best practices, and you can again inform the writers about this. And lastly, format and outline. The reason why I think you should include the format, is it meant to be a long article? Is it meant to be a short article? And sometimes the writers, are you asking them to write it because you want to put it in an infographic? You want to put it in a video? So again, letting them know the formats will actually inform the styling of writing. Not every SEO is great at being quite creative with how they write, but sometimes if you let your writers know this is the format you would like it, you just want 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs, you can be as in depth as you want. Again, the content brief is great. If the content brief is detailed, the content will come out great and the quality will be better. That way you're not then having to change the content next year because you didn't do it so well the first year. You want the content to be lasting, so therefore let the content brief be as detailed. I don't believe in not keeping the content brief very minimal. I think that is a way to sort of get things wrong. But what are the benefits of SEO focused content briefs? Well, minimize costs because you're not having to go back and forth with the freelancers again, because that's time, and time equals money. You're not having to go back and forth in terms of them to change it or get someone else to write it. You're minimizing the cost. You're hitting your deadlines. If you have a deadline that you need to meet, you don't have room for misunderstandings. You don't have room for things to go wrong. You kind of need to make sure that content brief is as detailed, that they understand your vision, is as SEO focused as possible, that you can make it, and it increases your consistency. If you get into the habit of making your content briefs SEO focused, you are increasing the consistency of being SEO minded. All your content is going to be exactly the same way because you're addressing the title, the H1s. You're making sure the quality stays the same. You're being quite intentional in how you're doing it. Again, we see great content being written from in-depth content briefs produces quite really good search rankings, in the sense of if you're targeting the right keywords, if the writers are writing it with the right intent query, this is proven to show that search features are added because you're answering questions, you're looking at long tail versus short tail, and all of those things. It creates scalable formats. A lot of times, loads of companies will have a particular format that they tend to use. If your content brief is always precise and SEO focused, you can scale it up and you can create different templates of content briefs that you just need to fill in the gaps. If you have a set way of now creating this brief that everyone can utilize, it makes producing content at a faster basis as well. And again, you're educating the writers and your clients as well. When we're sending out clients the content briefs, they're being educated in terms of what goes into SEO, what goes to this. So we're moving from just regular copywriting to now SEO focused copywriting. We're making sure again that we are still trying to improve user experience, but we want it to be SEO minded as well. But what should you avoid? Avoid suggesting things after the fact. After you've written the content brief and you sent it out, avoid making more and more suggestions. You're only delaying and making the process longer. Everything should have, be in the content brief, so you don't have to keep doing that. Don't always focus on high search volumes. I know people would love to target, keywords with 2,000, 10,000 high search volumes, but remember that long tail keywords tell you a lot about the intent and short tail keywords. So sometimes long tail keywords might not be as high. It might be 100 search volumes a month or 50. Doesn't mean you should do away with them, but find out how you can then utilize it within your content brief. How do you want to suggest it? How can you sort of still put that in? Tools are great, but they're good, but they're not perfect. Again, when you're looking at how to create your content briefs, or when you're looking at keywords to go into the content briefs, it's great to use tools. It's great to use all of these things, but also manually go and check. So if you're targeting a content or a particular keyword that you want to add in the content briefs, type that into Google, see how much results come up, check it against the tools, and remember that tools are there for a reason. They're absolutely great, but nothing beats going over and remembering that they're not always perfect. Sometimes it can go wrong, so making sure you're double checking. And a way to involve the content team, bring them into the planning process. When you're planning any sort of content ideas, when you're planning any sorts of SEO issues that you're finding with content, bring in the content team. Things work better when you involve both teams together, because again, they're understanding the quality of how the content should be produced, because you're using search data and you're using the data that Google's telling you. So to me, it only makes sense if we're looking at SEO content, and a lot of times SEO sits within the SEO team. It makes sense to bring in the content team, because again, the content teams are probably producing content on social platforms as well. SEO content and content team can work beautifully they should be involved in that planning process. Don't hold back on showing results. So once you start seeing the results or any rankings from an SEO side, share that with the team. Say, look at what we did in terms of look at the rankings that we're getting. That again will reinforce a beautiful collaboration between both teams. And respect the knowledge. As the SEO team, yes, we know the search data, but we're not always the most creative. Sometimes the content team have a bit more creativity going, so they're able to say, this can work if we do it in this creativity way. So same way as, as SEOs, we know the data, we know search data, we know all of these things. We might be lacking that creativity. So respecting the knowledge of the content team allows for more cohesive collaboration. And that's mostly it for my talk. So thank you guys so much. And yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Rejoice, for that. There's lots of information to take away. And hello to those that have joined us. Hello, Azim, Peter, Harry, and others that are not logged in. So if anyone has any questions for Joyce, we just have time for one. Please drop it in the chat. I think Harry's actually asked you one, but it's about Rise at 7. So if you can see that, maybe you can message him back privately. You can always contact Joyce on her LinkedIn account there, which is in our screen. I just had one actually for you, Rejoice. I think that was a point, obviously, that Azim has mentioned before about diversity and inclusion. And I just wanted to find out or just ask you, why is it that people maybe just do tokenism? How can they avoid doing this? Tick that off the box. Oh, yes, we're diverse and inclusive. So if you could answer like in a couple of lines, how could someone avoid using that?
I think you can avoid tokenism by trying to put yourself in that person's shoes. Do you want to be answerable for everybody? And if the answer is no, then you need to understand that, okay, so what is the purpose of hiring this person or hiring a certain demographic? And if you are truly diverse, why is it only one person representing several people? Why don't you have more than one, for example? So I think that's a good mindset to sort of get into. It's very easy to cross into tokenism where, for example, Black History Month will come in and you all expect the Black person to be the one to speak about it. That's tokenism. They shouldn't have to feel pressured to stand up for other people. So I think it's again, if you remember, it's a community effort, meaning that if you try to get everybody involved, everybody to understand it, then there wouldn't be that tokenism every single time something happens to that marginalized group. You turn to that one marginalized person to do it.
Thank you. Yes, that's a good point. Well, I very much appreciate you taking the time. I know you're at an event today, so thank you very much for sharing with us. And if anyone wants to get hold of you, they can contact you here on LinkedIn and also Be Digital UK, and also obviously you're on Twitter. So thank you very much for Joyce.
Thank you.
So everyone, thank you for joining us so far. We are really pleased to see we have Simon that will be talking to us about his agency, Blue Array. For some that do not know, they have a meetup group, and they also had a massive event in London May the 4th. So I'll pass over to Simon, who can talk a little bit more about creativity in SEO and how he built his agency, Blue Array. Thank you, Simon.
Great, thanks, Joe. And Rejoice, I know, is probably there in the background. If I can help support in any way at all, just do feel free to get in touch. Anything we can do to make our industry more diverse and inclusive, I definitely want to get behind. So things like access to our academy or tickets to our events, I'm more than happy to help in that area. So a little bit about me. I'm the founder of an agency called Blue Array. We're the UK's largest specialist SEO agency, both in terms of headcount and turnover. Move on to... I'm out of sync with your slides, Joe. That's it. Brilliant. Thank you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about positively impacting others through growth, and talk to, if you're interested in listening, about growing an agency and how I use creativity to grow this particular agency, and then tips for growing customers through creativity as well. So I said the business has been established in 2015. It's bootstrapped, which means it's self-funded. It's had no outside investment, and we're now over 50 employees and greater than 5 million annual turnover. I'm also an investor and advisor to companies including Click Mechanic, Sonic Jobs, and a baking company called Baked In. So they have a baking subscription service. I have to say that's my favorite investment, because my daughter gets the free subscriptions each month and I get to consume those. So that's definitely my favorite one. I'm also the trustee of a homeless charity in my hometown of Reading called New Beginnings. We operate out of a dry pub in Reading called the Queen's Arms. So we provide hot meals, a community fridge, and when we can, an all-night shelter. We're actually battling the local authority to allow us to get up and running again because of some nonsensical COVID restrictions. For those that don't know, a community fridge is quite different from a food bank. So a food bank, you have to get a referral for. A community fridge, no matter what your background, you can get free supplies from us from that particular pub, as I say, in Reading. We'll give you essential foods, including fresh produce there. So yeah, it's a lovely charity, and I'm very proud to be involved with them. So really, I wanted to talk about growing an agency, and for those that are interested in maybe having their own agency someday, I think perhaps I've got some nuggets I'd like to share with you. First and foremost, when I did start in 2015, by the way, there weren't actually any specialist SEO agencies. Most of them that had started off as specialists had become generalists. So they were offering, paid search as well as organic. And so really there was a gap in the market, and that's a great way to begin a business is having some kind of selling proposition that makes you ideally unique in that marketplace. But I also wanted to start with something of a higher purpose. So, it's not particularly exciting to me anyway to build a business for the purposes of profit purely. And you also need something to rally a team around. Also, prospects and customers, they want to get around a vision for what an agency represents. So price, for instance, is sometimes what I see people using as a USP to start an agency. Don't do that. Starting an agency being the cheapest is a race to the bottom. But having that higher purpose is really important. Our higher purpose is now a mission statement, and so Blue Array's mission is to elevate our people, customers, and industry through SEO, and use our business to positively influence a better world. And I hope we demonstrate those things as well through our actions and output. So things like the Blue Array Academy, we use to elevate our industry. We use it to elevate our people. With our people, we offer 3 clear progression plans. We offer the ability to do talks and events. The elevating of our customers through really strong return on investment and referrals, still being the #1 source of new business for us. So I'm often asked, how have you been able to grow the business so quickly? It genuinely is an incredibly boring answer, which is that we've got happy customers referring more happy customers, but it is the best way to grow an agency. We're also soon going to be announcing our B Corp status, I hope, fingers crossed. That's been a journey of over a year now to get that going. And through our books, Mastering In-House SEO as well, I hope we're helping to elevate the contributors within those books as well as across our industry as well. So you can build your first few clients on reputation. I worked in-house for years with a couple of really big success stories. So Mail Online, where we grew that business to overtake the New York Times, and then Zoopla, where I was headhunted by a guy called Alex Chesterman to take that business from 0 to 1 billion IPO. And it was largely SEO that was driving that. So around 60% of their traffic when I was there was non-branded organic traffic, driving around 16 million visits a month. And those big success stories led to lots of requests for consultancy. and I managed to convince a few of them to sign an agreement with me, and Blue Array was born. So yeah, beyond that, it's really rallying customers around your work and your business via that higher purpose, and be brazen and unafraid about business development. You know, we regularly ask our customers if there's anybody in their networks we should be speaking to. We also talk internally about building a raving fan culture of our customers. So, you know, network, get yourself out there and share your expertise with whoever will listen. I guess I'll give you another sort of a top tip, which is that I see a lot of agencies who get started and then go under fairly quickly, and it seems to be that often they're building dependencies on a few customers. So, you know, many startup agencies do go under because they're building a resiliency on one or two customers, and if one or two of those customers then either go out of business or you get death by CMO, so a new CMO comes on board and doesn't want to be working with you, they've got an agency that they like to work with, that's your business under very quickly. So we typically have this rule that no more than 20% of turnover can be given to one particular client. So in the early days of the business, if the client was too big for us, we simply turned them down because we didn't want to build that dependency on that one client. Even if you have long-term agreements with them, there's no assurance there that they're going to be sticking around with you. So you've got to build that resiliency into your agency. People, sales, and profit is something we've always had as a mantra. So it's actually the most supremely logical way to run an agency as well. You know, we're not in the SaaS business. We're not selling software. People is what drives your agency. So focusing on your people first and foremost is incredibly important, and then actually the sales and profitability come after that. So as other speakers have said, I think, yeah, people is incredibly important. Finally, be really careful about who you listen to in this industry as well. There are so many folks who offer advice on running agencies that have never actually done this themselves and really have no direct experience of succeeding. So personally, if I'm going to scale Everest, I'd rather pick an experienced Sherpa who's done the climb rather than a geologist who can tell me about the rocks I'm going to be climbing. Just on to the business, and I just wanted to share the growth in terms of imagery. So picture at the top here, we've got Blue Array in 2017. We had about 7 employees huddled into a co-working space, and in the summer of 21, we're up to 55 employees. And at that stage, we were in roughly 5,000 square foot of space. You know, as I've mentioned, people, sales, and profit, and really investing in your team. I've always believed that you're only as good as your worst member of staff, because at some point that individual is going to interact with the customer. So, you know, you need to be investing. And there's also this old business joke about the CEO going to the CEO saying, "I've just seen the training budget. Why are we investing so much in our people? They'll just get skilled and leave." And the CEO says, "But what if we don't invest in their training and they stay?" So yeah, investment is absolutely critical, and we really do heavily invest in that area. To some degree, the Blue Array Academy is also an externalization of that investment. You can get close to some of the training and development that an SEO manager might be receiving at Blue Array through doing that course. Now, really, my greatest reward in building Blue Array really has been watching the team grow and the individuals develop as well. So people like Tom Paul, who was my first hire, a fresh-faced apprentice back in, I think it was 2017, he first came on board, and watching him go up on stage and win awards is the absolutely most rewarding thing for me. And I love, you know, Kim Ju, for instance, was recently in Downing Street as the part of Asian Women Achievers Awards, and things like that I find incredibly rewarding for me. On to the next slide. So just some tips for growing customers. I guess what I want to try and get across here is that if you're wanting to, both in terms of business development, client management, grow your business, you really need to move away from checklist SEO. Customers don't care about things like missing metadata. They care about the business impact of that missing metadata. So we use what we call North Star goals to try and align the business KPIs with SEO and the dependency we have to get our recommendations implemented. So I know this is one of the most common complaints in the industry is how do we get our clients to actually implement our recommendation? And having, as I say, North Star goals where you've got a clear number in terms of, you know, visits and conversions that you're going to be achieving after 12 to 18 months, and then month to month what those numbers look like. You're building up that picture for those clients of that there's work to be done in order to achieve those targets. And you know, you to some degree want to use that to hold their feet to the coals, saying if we can't get this implemented next month, then we're going to have to adjust those North Star goals down. And I think clients can move pretty quickly when they realize that the targets that have been agreed upon need to move southwards. So we found that as quite a good way to get clients to implement recommendations. I think thinking big and experimenting is also really important. So I would say all of our prospects, so people who inquire about working with Blue Array who become customers, are really sold into strategies. They're not sold into tactical advice. And what I mean by that is that they're interested in big picture needle movers, which they're not hearing elsewhere. And we're very good at demonstrating what those big picture needle movers could be. So an example of one of the big successes I've had in the past, which I can talk about, is things like acquisition SEO at Zoopla. So at Zoopla, we went down the route of acquiring domains for the purpose of PageRank, and yes, that still works today if done well. So when I was there, we were acquiring domains like Up My Street, Find a Property, Globrix, and simply redirecting those domains like for like into the sites, and that really gave us the ability to rank, you know, head to head at that time with Rightmove, and you know that's the case today that there still exists in a cozy duopoly to get together because of that acquisition SEO. One domain I couldn't redirect was Prime Location. So we were told by some high-end agents that if we were to redirect Prime Location, we'd lose their business. Prime Location was seen as very sort of high-end, aspirational London, and they wanted to be featured there. So then the challenge came to me: how do I get two domains ranking in search results with essentially duplicate content? Because Zoopla's listing pages and details pages are going to be the same across those two domains. So, and the answer was very, very simple on that. We just essentially changed the sort order on them. So if you want to have a look at Zoopla's default sort order, it's most recent, and Prime Locations is highest priced. And believe it or not, that's enough of a value difference that the Google can go, you know, these are different enough that both of those can get ranking. And it's just having the creativity to think about these things. Actually, we didn't stop there either. We thought, well, we managed to get Prime Location and Zoopla ranking on page one. Why don't we talk to some publishers about how we can get some white label solutions up and running for them? And at one stage, we had 4 or 5 domains ranking on page one in Google for queries like, you know, property for sale in Leeds. So, yeah, creativity, I find, and experimentation is incredibly important with SEO. I mean, some of the things that, you know, I put here learnings as a bullet point. That's a nice word for failure sometimes as well. But some of the learnings include, I mean, some of the things that we've done, like redirecting the entire homepage of a name brand website to an internal page, which was their Black Friday page, to try and boost that page's rankings. Did it work? You know, maybe. It didn't show a big impact, unfortunately, with the limited timescales we had to get that page ranking, but we were seeing the early signs of success from that sort of thing. And why would you not want to have your Black Friday page ranking instead of your homepage if that's what the majority of traffic would be coming into the site for anyway? So these kind of creative ideas, this experimentation, I think is incredibly important in SEO. You know, following Google's guidelines and doing checklist SEO won't make you a great SEO. It will make you a great reader, and with that offer really nothing to the market that doesn't already exist. So, you know, get using that right brain and thinking creatively. Okay, so if you'd like to meet up, I'm at Brighton SEO biannually, or our London SEO Excel event on May 4th. See you there, I hope. And if you'd like to connect, I'm definitely most active on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out there. But I hope that gave you some insight into the creativity I've used to both build an agency and in terms of how we deliver success to customers as well.
Well, thank you very much, Simon. Yes, that looked like it was a great event that you did in London earlier. It's now 2 months ago, actually. Time's passed by very quickly. I just had one question for you, just to ask really about, getting your first client. So you were lucky. You were working with some other clients, and they asked, "But if you want to start up your own business?" Or it seemed like you were already in contact with some of them.
Yeah, I think you'll find, I mean, it's just that it's the individual networks of people. So my first customer was Simply Business, by the way, who had been recommended by the then CMO of Zoopla. So, people talk. I mean, and that's something that's we've definitely leveraged in the past, is getting involved in those networks where, people are talking to each other about who would you recommend in this particular area. And, for me, it was having some really great in-house success stories meant that I was already quite well networked already. But it's not that you can't replicate that kind of network effect quite quickly yourself, if you're demonstrating that you're doing a great job. And as I said, just being brazen about asking for referrals. Like, as soon as you're starting to show the signs that you're doing a really great job and the customer's happy, why would you not ask? Who should I be speaking to in your network?
Well, impressive that you have built up such a big agency, and we saw you at the EU Search Awards a couple months ago, and also, great job around obviously Tom Poole, and excellent work with Kim Ju as well. I didn't realize that Tom had been with your company, or he's your first employee. So he's also come on Tea Time SEO that I was working on with Authoritas, which was great, and I believe Kim took part in some events as well that I was running. So thank you very much, Simon, for coming on our show today. So for those that weren't able to join, this is obviously recorded live, and you can see us on the YouTube channel. For those that would like to be part of Turn Digi, or even actually, I run Search London. I run that with Tim Sheed. You can contact myself, SEO Joe Blogs. For Turn Digi, please contact myself, or also reach out to Turn Digi on Twitter. So I also wanted to give a big shout out to WebCertain. I've known WebCertain actually for a very long time, since actually maybe nearly 11 years, and they are they are hosting an event, International Search Summit, actually in my new hometown where I am in Barcelona, and they are looking to have. They're doing that in November 17th, and they're looking for some speakers. So if you want to get involved and you want to talk about international PPC, so if you have experience in working in paid search across international markets, then please contact them. That's their details, webcertain.com. It's International Search Summit. You can also contact Kirsty and Gemma, who are working at WebCertain. And I will put their details in the chat in a moment. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming today. We had some good questions. And if you want to get involved with Search London or Turn Digi, just let me know. And actually, Simon, you are having another event coming soon as well for Blue Array.
Yeah, I mean, every month we do smaller events. The London SEO Meetup XL, the one we did in Shoreditch Town Hall, was a sort of a supersized version of the smaller events we do on a monthly basis. So definitely recommend following London SEO Meetup on Twitter for the latest news about events. But it's on a monthly basis. Free beer, free pizza, good networking. What's not to love about that?
Yeah, that's great. So you have this, did you say, so every month or so?
Correct. Yeah, every month. Yeah.
And how many people normally attend your event?
So it's usually between 30 and 50 people, I'd say, for the smaller events. Yeah.
30 to 50. Okay. And you've also got, have you got sometimes first-time speakers or people that are well in the industry coming to talk?
Oh yeah, we're always interested in new speakers. I mean, this is a great platform to get visible, and we want to elevate and raise people up in the industry. So first-time speakers, we'd love to hear from you. Again, if you just either reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or go to Twitter, London SEO Meetup, then you can message us there as well. So yeah, anybody who's interested in speaking, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, great. Well, we'll do so. Thank you very much, Simon, and thank you very much, everyone that's tuned in today, and also those that will be watching us later, not live. So I will stop sharing my screen. And hopefully see some of you online or in person at the London SEO meetup, or at Search London, or of course at Brighton SEO. So Simon will be at Brighton SEO. I'm SEO Joe Blogs. I will also be at Brighton SEO, and many people that have joined today will be at Brighton SEO, as well as a big shout out to the Women in Tech SEO community, where actually I met Rejoice. So thanks to all our speakers, and we will see you soon.
Thanks all. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.